Hello and welcome into the newest episode of Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella, and we have yet another update on the Stefon Diggs saga, where that might be heading with the Patriots still in the middle of OTAs, an update on the wide receiver battle, a new eraser for the Patriots' back end defense, and an update for an intriguing player amongst the best defenders in the NFL. Before we get into everything, make sure you go down and subscribe for the channel. Get in the comments and let us know what you think about what's going on with Stefon Diggs and the zigs and zags that this story keeps taking. Give us a like if you like what you hear on the show, and make sure you go back and check out all of our old episodes to get caught up on everything Patriots. We start with that Diggs update, and again, that keeps going back and forth. There is everything that happened last weekend. There is the video that came out, what was going on in it, Mike Vrabel's comments or non-comments about it, his discussions behind closed doors with Stefon Diggs. Diggs are still not at OTAs. He continues to practice on his own as it is voluntary at this time of the year. And as a veteran, that's not a huge surprise. Diggs again did sign that 3-year, $69 million contract, and it stated that it had $26 million guaranteed. However, there appears to be a caveat that could get the Patriots out of the deal entirely should they decide that this is a big enough issue. Now, again, this is only if the Patriots decide that this is an issue, if they feel that they have gone down a path that they shouldn't or been sold a bill of false goods. If that is the case, and I do not think it is. I think the talent level of Stefon Diggs is that one of a wide receiver one in the NFL, and you need to do everything you can to protect that. And if he makes a mistake off the field, let the coach address it and move on, unless it goes somewhere that we are not able to know about right now. When it comes to his contract, there does state that until Stefon Diggs is able to pass a full physical, which reportedly at this time he has not, that the Patriots are not on the hook for anything in this deal and they could essentially walk away from it. It is an interesting wrinkle, especially one after Scott Zolak did come out and talk about how the Patriots at least had cutting Stefon Diggs on the table, and this likely would be a part of that, knowing that they could do this without losing a lot of money in the dissolving of such a deal. Again, these numbers, these facts or figures have been all over social media for the past 24 hours here, so wanted to get into why this is out there. Again, I think this is getting too far down the runway. I think this is partially because it is a quiet time in the NFL, that we are 14 weeks out from real football being played, and that everyone's going to have the microscope on, out, and on when these things or types of things do start to happen. At the end of it all, I think hopefully this can be a learning experience for Stefon Diggs and Mike Vrabel. Hopefully they can collaborate better in the future about needs and expectations. And hopefully it ends with Stefon Diggs finishing his rehab, getting cleared, passing that physical, and getting out onto the field to become that number one option that Drake May so sorely needs. Speaking of options for Drake May and in that wide receiver battle, there appears to be 4 locks as long as Stefon Diggs is one and gets back out onto the field. Other free agents signing Mac Hollins would be another. Pop Douglas, obviously, as the top returner from last year's team, and third-round pick Kyle Williams. Who ends up taking those last 2 spots? There's 12 wide receivers currently on the roster, so there's a tight battle. One that actually had his name mentioned in several trade rumors was Keyshawn Boutte. Now, Boutte might have been the odd man out, and he's a guy that, was a late round pick, even though he had at a certain point in his career at LSU a first round draft grade. He's had ups and downs, but towards the end of the season was almost operating as a number one option for Drake May. That said, because of the glut that is at the wide receiver position for the Patriots, it was reported that the Patriots were actually shopping Keyshawn Boutte up into the NFL draft. Nothing obviously came to fruition, and he retains his spot on the roster. And as I started to look through it, it seemed though Keyshawn would be, again, the odd man out, along with Kendrick Bourne probably going elsewhere, and guys like Jalen Polk and Javon Baker getting a chance as kind of younger players, while Booty actually is the same age as them. They're all 23, that is Polk, Booty, and Baker. But again, I think as we start to look at it a little bit closer, especially at Javon Baker, who has an immense amount of talent, might be better suited on the Patriots practice squad to be around and grow a little bit, while Booty actually has proved he can perform at the NFL level. And actually, Mike Vrabel has taken note of this too. And actually, speaking on his performance, Vrabel said that Booty has gotten better shape as we started to go to OTAs, and I think that's really started to help him. So, obviously, the head coach taking note that of your physical appearance, your physical output, the shape that he's in, and how he's able to help this team on the field. Vrabel went on to say that he said he likes his attitude. I enjoy his willingness to continue to improve and maybe do some things a little differently. So obviously, what Mike Vrabel is doing now is much different than what Booty had to do last year under Gerard Mayo. But it seems like he's buying into everything, and just as much as talent, draft stock, and pedigree come into play, free agent leverage, if you will, dependent upon how much you were paid to come into the team, all plays a factor. But again, what the head coach thinks of you at the end of the day can sometimes weigh more heavily. So now, for me, I think I would put Kayshon Boutte into that sixth spot for the time being, with Javon Baker probably sliding back out. But another one to keep an eye on with all of this is the development of Efton Chisholm, the undrafted free agent out of Eastern Washington. Keep an eye, as he will likely be going head to head with all six of these guys sooner rather than later. An additional rookie that we want to look at is rookie Cal safety Craig Woodson. He's been drawing the attention of media members everywhere, and have been slow to pick up on it because, again, things get blown up out of proportion, and some things kind of get fed a little bit as well for guys that you were kind of surprised to hear. And the Patriots did take him towards the top of the fourth round. Had a little bit of a lower draft grade, but the Pats actually had him pretty high up their board. When day two of the NFL draft concluded and round three wrapped up, the Pats knew they would be picking fourth overall. And with the top three guys coming off, they took Woodson, and they actually said if they were the number one pick in that start of the fourth round, they had him as the top player on their board and would have taken him there too. So they're excited to have Craig Woodson there. Again, I think with Jabril Peppers working his way back, learning what Mike Vrabel wants in his system, Kyle Duggar being out right now working his way back from injury as well, Del Pettis having a great year last year, needing to do that again, Jalen Hawkins as a veteran, as is Epps. Woodson has a chance to make an impact, and with a lot of sub packages, he could actually be a factor. And one thing that is coming out was his defensive backs coach, and his nickname for him was the Eraser. It was Trey Watson is the name of the Cal backs coach, and he said his nickname was because he was always going to make us right. Watson went on to say that any week we went into a game plan, if there was a matchup or formation or personnel, he was going to be the one adjusting and cleaning up everything for us because he could handle it, as well as his presence in the post. We didn't get a lot of shots in the middle of the field because Craig was always going back to erase it. If a play got busted, he was going to get it on the ground. And that's what Woodson has pretty much done throughout OTAs here, matching up with some of the best of the Patriots, and holding his own left and right. So it's good to see that Woodson is getting this done as a fourth rounder. Again, he is an older player, 24. He's played 6 collegiate seasons, the last 3 starting, all for the Cal Bears. But again, someone to keep an eye on at the back end of that defense, and someone who's getting a lot of hype. And apparently it's actually turning out to be something that he could live up to. Finally, we look at a player that we had talked about a few months ago, and one that was surprising. And there were betting lines to say that, where he could end up next. And the Patriots were towards the top of that list for TJ Watt, one of the most disruptive defensive players in the entire NFL. Watt is looking for a new deal from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and after Myles Garrett is now making $40 million per year, TJ Watt is clearly looking to approach something of that ilk. Um, Watt is not at OTAs. He is deciding not to participate. Again, it is voluntary, so nothing a huge surprise, but there is now a report out that says the Steelers have actually put a deal on the table for TJ Watt, but he has not accepted it. They, again, wants that new contract, but it does not sound like an agreement is imminent. Nothing coming at any time soon. The offer is apparently substantial to Watt, but it is not what he wants, and he is not interested in signing it. And if the Steelers are not interested in upping their offer, that's when things could potentially get interesting. Again, this will go for a lot of players. We just talked about Micah Parsons yesterday. Again, it comes down to when you have guys at the top of their profession, at the top of their position, and teams are saying, look, this is what you're worth and this is what we'll pay you. If they're going to say, look, I need more, things can change in a hurry, and suddenly you could say, look, we need to get something for this guy because he's either going to hold out and not play. This could be the Trey Hendrickson side of it, which we talked about with the Cincinnati Bengals just 2 days ago as well. Again, I think TJ Watt would be surprising to see him not in a Steelers uniform, but with Mike Tomlin having such a long career here of success in having 500 or better, making the playoffs. But it has been sometimes the Steelers have gotten it done in the playoffs and make a Super Bowl run. There could be a scenario where you say it's time to hit the reset button. And we need the free agent dollars, and salary cap dollars to completely redo this. That would be a tough call to move on from someone like TJ Watt. But again, I think if TJ Watt's looking for it and, wants the change, wants to play for a defensive minded head coach, team that's up and coming, has a young quarterback, the Patriots now have all of those things, and they could be enough to line up where you can say, hey, let's talk about this if you're not able to get a contract done with the team that you have made an outstanding career with already. That'll do it for us here on this episode of Pat's Latest. Again, make sure you get down and subscribe for that channel. Get into the comments and let us know what you think it would take for TJ Watt to get out of Pittsburgh and into Foxborough, what the Patriots will end up doing with Stefon Diggs, and who ends up making the wide receiver position for this team. Give us a like if you liked what you hear, and go back and check out all the old episodes to make sure that you know exactly what's going on with your New England Patriots. We'll continue to have it all for you here. Fight on, Foxborough.